we didn't want to put any of our own, certainly in terms of the thematic material, we didn't want to put any of our own baggage. I mean, we had no interest in putting our messages into this movie, but we thought that we should honor Tolkien by putting his messages into it.
Nerderotic.com.
Female Gandalf. It's almost not fair to pick on the electronic media, the mainstream media, the access media anymore, because they are clearly writing stuff, so we will make videos about it to drive traffic to their website, and I am most certainly taking the bait when it comes to Lord of the Rings, and this is one they won't win, and I will tell you why. But before I get started, if you like what I do here, please consider subscribing to the channel. YouTube has recently made some changes. One they went back on, so thank you, YouTube. I am keeping my verification, but they are continuing to not recommend videos as much as they once were. So if you could subscribe to the channel, like and share as much as possible, I would greatly appreciate it. I apologize for asking you to do more work than just subscribing. That should be enough, but that would help me in the future and your favorite YouTuber. Thank you for your time. Now let's get to this ridiculous article. Now, to start out with, this is just an actress musing over, wouldn't it be cool if it was a female Gandalf? But we know what the access media and the blue checkmark Twitter mob will do with this. It's time. It's time for a female Gandalf. No, it's time for you to create your own goddamn story. Now, Lord of the Rings, Tolkien, that's where I put my foot down. And I have promised, and I've said this, and if you've been on the channel for a while, you know that I will dedicate my entire channel into bringing down Amazon if they screw with Lord of the Rings. Now, we know this is taking place in the Second Age. So the first thing that this actress gets wrong is that Gandalf won't be in the story at all. He arrives in the year 1000 of the Third Age, the Astari do, which are the wizards. Now, they all have multiple names, but you know them as Saruman the White, Gandalf the Gray, Radagast the Brown, Morinitar the Blue, and Romastano the Blue. And they all have a couple more names, and I highly recommend you check out a YouTuber called Men of the West. He is my go-to YouTuber for Tolkien lore, so well done, sir. Gandalf should be a Kwai with a Moko. Forgive me if I mispronounced any of that. Those are the first time I've ever seen those words. Call for a wizard to be female in Lord of the Rings. Actor Robin Malcolm, who everyone will know as Marwen, you know, the Go-Child woman, has revealed her top picks for actress to take on the role of a female Gandalf in Amazon's Lord of the Rings TV series. Once again, it's taking place in the Second Age, so there can't be a Gandalf, and thank God for Tom Shippey. He is the guardian of Tolkien lore for Lord of the Rings Amazon and for all the Lord of the Rings and Tolkien fans. May he live a long and healthy life. Bless you, sir, for protecting us from idiots and ideologues in Hollywood. Malcolm said it's time the perspective in the show was flipped and should be less male-focused than its film counterparts, in which Sir Ian McKellen played the wizard. Again, this is just Robin Malcolm talking to somebody about who she would like to play a female Gandalf, while really trying to bring in more equality into Lord of the Rings, which we can certainly get into, but this is the constant running narrative that we get from Hollywood and the entertainment industry at the BBC, like they're righting some sort of wrong by taking away male characters and replacing them with female characters to punish somebody. Who are you punishing? This is how these things start. Doubt me now, but they were just talking about the first female James Bond, and look what we got. They were talking about the first female Indiana Jones, and I'm sure that'll happen someday. And they were just talking about the first female Doctor, and look what we got. In the name of diversity, look at all that diversity. Those old legends, those old mystical stories, they're so based within patriarchal landscapes. Here we go. That's what this is about. This is about taking away something from the men and giving it to the women. Like, women are going to watch this like it is Lord of the Rings anymore if you make Gandalf a female. It won't be. Again, write your own damn story. We've already seen what happened to Doctor Who. They changed the Doctor to a female, and it's no longer Doctor Who. It doesn't feel like the show at all. It just is a female doctor running around pretending to be the Doctor. Why not look at the magic of a matriarchal world where the magical powerhouses are women? There are plenty of women in the Tolkien legendarium, but we'll just talk about the one that everyone knows. I'm guessing since Galadriel has been around since the First Age, she'll be a part of this show. She's pretty powerful. She's pretty magical. If you're talking about bringing more equality into the Lord of the Rings, more women, well, you can certainly do that. You can do that with the elves, which I think this show will be centered around. You won't have a Gandalf. I'm not sure if you'll even have wizards. You could, according to the agreement, and I'm not 100% sure on this, but they can add characters as long as it doesn't take away from anything that Tolkien has set in stone. So they can't change anything about Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, or The Hobbit, but they can play with some characters and certainly introduce new female characters. If that's what you're talking about, awesome. But if we want a show that is just female-centric, well, this is where we can talk about fan ownership of a franchise, because that's been floated around a lot, and I think it applies to Star Wars, to Star Trek, and of course it applies to Lord of the Rings. A lot of the creatives or repurposers in Hollywood confuse ownership with investment. Investment is what you, the owners of these franchises, who want us fans to bring into your franchise, so we will bring our money. But you can't just throw all the investment that we have in it aside. Amazon paid close to $1 billion for the rights to this franchise. I'm guessing they want most of the built-in audience to come and watch it. And if you want the built-in audience to watch it, you better present them with something that they have invested into. You need actors who have got gravitas. Did you hear that, Chris Chibnall and Doctor Who? And a real lot of personal power and a bit of brilliance. And they'll take this in an absolute way that it's meant. Witchy poo energy. Now, I'm no Tolkien scholar. I am not a Tolkienologist, and I will refer to the experts on this, but I'm guessing Tolkien didn't have witchy poo energy in mind at all, ever, when he was writing this story. Here is Robin's list. And if this was a conversation over dinner, or waiting for a film to start, or in a comic shop, certainly, I guess it would be interesting, but we know the access media would run with something like this. And the first thing that comes to mind is none of these women would look good with a beard. But aside from that, this brings us to the Doctor Who argument one more time. You can't simply just swap a gender without getting into the character. You have a character like the Doctor who was a male for 50 years, you make him a her, and then that's all you do. Again, this is a moot point because Gandalf isn't even going to be in the story, but they could gender swap other characters that they don't need to, and I want Lord of the Rings to remain above this. With Doctor Who, it turned out to be a gimmick. They tried to sound like they were groundbreaking, but they were really just out of ideas. They got a rating spike, and it didn't stick, and it alienated half the fan base. You don't want to be going out the gate alienating half of your fan base when you certainly could modernize the story while still honoring Tolkien. There is a lot of ways you can do that as long as they focus on good storytelling. But it's hard to when the access media keeps wanting to gender swap and race swap characters. And when you race swap or gender swap a character, you take away something from some people to give it to others instead of just creating a new character, and that can still involve everyone. That's why you don't want to be a female-centric show, because you're not focusing on all of your potential audience. I don't know why I have to say this out loud. Now, with specialized shows or films, certainly you can do that all day long, but Lord of the Rings is supposed to be for everyone. Star Wars and Star Trek and Marvel and DC are supposed to be for everyone. So no, you don't want to make them male-centric either. We want to have equality, but we have this overcorrection. And again, I'll go back to Doctor Who. This was brought up. What you did was you took away a male role model to replace it with a female role model. And what you did was you made a show for girls. I got a lot of criticism for that, but it's female-centric. And they're doing the same with Star Trek instead of making it for men and women. Female Doctor, female Thor, female Gandalf. Where does it end? What are Cate Blanchett's picks for a female Golem? Why stop there? Let's have a female Platoon, a female Apocalypse Now, a female Saving Private Rhianna. Hollywood and the BBC's favorite actor to cast in absolutely everything, Idris Elba, said it best when he didn't want to be known as just the Black James Bond. A wise man, but unfortunately Hollywood and the entertainment industry at the BBC remains the most narcissistic and unself-aware place in the world, not even realizing how insulting tokenism really is. But back to a female Gandalf. Again, I really doubt it would happen, but it doesn't mean they wouldn't try. Let me give you an example. This is Oleron, or Gandalf, in his younger, immortal, angelic form. And I think I read somewhere that he spent some time with the elves in the Second Age. Well, they can just say in his angelic, immortal form, he was an ethereal, sexless being. So when he came down prior to his arrival in the Third Age as a wizard, he was originally a female. Oh, Christ, did I just give him an idea? I'm sorry, but there's really nothing to worry about because we have our lead nerd on this one, Tom Shippey, and I'm sure he's telling the producers of this show to ask themselves, what would Tolkien do? We talk a lot about our modern mythology on this channel, and this literally is it. Tolkien wrote this as mythology, not as a fantasy. And yeah, he's a dude. And yeah, there's a lot of dudes in this story. And it is a male-centric story. And there's nothing wrong with that. Women can read it too. You know what? Check your history. A lot of women have read and enjoyed this story. We've already gotten a perfect Lord of the Rings. It's a perfect book and a perfect movie trilogy, partially written by two women, Philippa Boyens and Fran Walsh. I wish more creatives and repurposers would listen to what Peter Jackson said at the beginning of this video, but I will use a Tolkien quote to end this. He or she that breaks a thing to find out what it is has left the path of wisdom. Till next time, everybody have a great day. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.